What's going on, man?
Hello, Anthony.
Oh, that was a nightmare, bro.
Yes, they can be difficult to deal with. I've had my frustrations with them too.
It's more like a 45-minute hold time, man. Holy hell.
Before we begin, I do have one question I'd like to ask everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and that is there anything specific before we start that stands out that you have lots of issue dealing with, or something you don't understand at all, or...
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I think that you'll probably find stuff while looking at my play, which is probably why I need the coaching, because I've stopped finding things in my own play.
Okay.
Though I only started doing mech not so long ago, but I think generally just from playing for so long and taking lessons from others, I've managed to, have decent mechanics and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've got like a million replays. I honestly don't know if I win or lose any of them, but...
Okay, well let's take a look at an example. Pick one.
Sure, we'll go. That one was cheese, probably. Yeah, here's one. Oh, I just did it by myself. Sorry, give me a second.
That's fine.
So yeah, the build though I got is from the WCS. I think Day 9 did a daily on it as well, but it's definitely Strelux or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, Strelux build where he goes for 1 tech lab, 2 reactors.
Yeah. And then pushes at 6 tanks.
Yep. It's a very good build. I used it to defeat Noni in the WCS for 1 game.
I have that app on my phone and I thought I saw you use it. Just because of that, the way I see it is that wall. He always puts that wall up.
Yeah. So let's take a look here. That's strange, it says you're both the color red.
Right?
And you are the bottom right. This is a Terran against Terran. So the strategy for Strelok, I don't know if he uses it in TvT.
No.
But in TvP it's definitely strong. In TvT I would imagine it's less effective.
Oh yeah, because mines are less effective, I would say.
Mines are definitely less effective in TvT, yeah. So let's take a quick look at what goes on here. One of the things I've been using very, very well in TvT is 4GG's build. And how he handles that is he goes for more of a mass hellion style. I think he went like 47 wins and 3 losses.
He goes like blue flame, or?
Yeah, the timing with the blue flame. One thing is you get too many SCVs before you get your command center. About 2 extra ones. Something I've noticed here. You should be making your orbital command at 15.
Okay.
But guess first, you can be 16, so you're really like 1.5 behind, because you start in the middle of 17.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult. Doing this build, you should always die to Proxy Reaper and to Rax Reaper.
Yeah.
You let you surround them, which is good.
Usually, even if I don't get the surround, I'll get 1 or 2, and then these hellions pop, and I'm usually alright.
In TvT, this build is harder to do, especially when they scout it, because there's so many ways to be defensive between siege tanks, that don't require siege. They can defend really easily, and widow mines, of course.
Yeah, I do remember this stuff.
You were good to back off. Just looking at some crucial things. Let's speed this up for just a second. The gas timing is good. Your supply depots are good.
I mess up here. He comes Banshee and I don't make a Viking, I remember that.
So, one thing here that you could change up, mistakes that you make, is normally when players go for the factory opening into Hellbat drops, is after their first 2 hellions, they can use to scout the map. You can throw in 2 widow mines. They're good at holding map position. You can use 1 in your base for drops, and you can use 1 at your front, or you can put them anywhere. But 2 widow mines will help you a lot against like Banshees, or if the opponent goes hellions, or if they try to go for marine tank any early pressure. And you can also drop them to be really aggressive. So I would recommend that after your first 2 hellions in TvT, if you do this strategy, so you make 2 widow mines afterwards.
Okay.
And then right after your first medevac, I would always make a Viking and an engineering bay, or at least save up scans so you can make an engineering bay.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Viking right after the medevac is probably a good idea. In all matchups, for that matter, because you can clear the OV, you can stop an Oracle. Well, I guess the Oracle will do that before that, but...
Yeah, it's definitely not harmful to have just 1 Viking. So let's go ahead and go back here.
Game resumed.
So it is Banshee. The moment you see a Banshee, you should drop an engineering bay, because you never know if it's going to have cloak.
Yeah.
Just to have it.
I think I was up here doing that.
Yep. I like the widow mine drop. I wouldn't drop them all in one location. I would try to drop 1 in the mineral line here, 1 in the mineral line here, 1 near the ramp here, so it takes 3 different scans to clear them if they don't have a Raven, and then 1 at the front here. This gives you great vision on when he moves out. This makes it so he has to spend 4 scans or single Raven, and more often than not he'll forget about one of them and you will pick them off really well. But if you put them in one place, you'll get them all with a single scan, and that's what he did here. So let's continue. Hellbat drop is good. I want to check your vision real fast. So you saw that there was a bunker and a missile turret at his natural. So that's definitely not someplace you want to drop, especially not from that angle. Maybe if you came in like through here and took whatever SCVs you can in between the first 4 mineral patches, you just drop right there and pick off from the 2 on the right by the geyser and then 2 close to the middle of the mineral patch, and then fly away.
Well, I think, and I noticed that when I did it too, but I think that if I'm down here with APM and not paying attention, like I passed it with shift cues and I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. One thing you could do instead is like drop on the siege tank and pick it off. You don't even have to get workers, or drop right on this gas geyser. He's got all of his SCVs there.
Yeah.
So that's very good.
I think I just used that. And I try to.
Yeah, it didn't live very long. So see, from your point of view, we can see that he's getting medevacs. We can see that he's getting siege tanks. So one of the things you'll have to do yourself is go up to 3 factories, which you're doing. Very good. 2 Vikings, that's a good number to have. You don't need that much more. If you know he's going bio, you can definitely throw in a Banshee or 2 to snipe his siege tanks. I like the +1 attack. Very good. Good depots. I don't like 2 reactors against Terrans. It's not bad, it's just that bio will outmaneuver you. 2 reactors can work if you get hellion, for hellions instead of hellbats, and you get the blue flame and then eventually the transformation. The reason why I like it a little more is because hellbats can be easily kited and you need a lot of things to do the damage. And he'll be dropping you a lot, so you need to be really mobile around the map. So this is why 4GG's massive Blue Flame Hellions is really good. Like, you're doing pretty good here. He's letting you kill off a lot of stuff. More than he definitely should. And now he's trying to drop on you. So, definitely lost more than he should have.
Yeah.
And then another thing with the Hellions is if you get the transformation servos and Blue Flame, you can kind of like really give chase to armies running away.
Okay.
Especially small armies, so they can't just stem and run away from your Hellbats. Hellions are much faster.
Do you go double?
You can go double upgrades when you have a huge mineral dump and not as much of a gas dump, so it works for your strategy. I like your siege tank positioning. I would split them up a little bit more though, these, and then you don't really have a way of scouting for drops. Like you should have an SCV maybe at this missile turret, or a sensor tower in this location, And what that would do is it would really watch anything close to the tower to see if he's got it, watches the airspace from the back, and watches a lot of the front, and then maybe a missile tower in this location. This also watches a lot of the frontal space, so you can see attacks coming and watches the air there, or fly your barracks right here, so you only need to get one sensor tower on the right.
I'm terrible with, since I'm just switching from Zerg, I am quite terrible with sensor towers, and I find actually that these are harder to hold because I just don't think, like when I have Zerglings, I just put them there, like I don't think about it. I have a harder time with Terran.
That's another reason why hellions are really good, is if you know, they're really good at keeping towers.
Fast.
Yeah, very fast. And the more Marines he has, the more Blue Flame Hellions are awesome, because they'll do a lot of damage to them. And the more Marauders, the more you want like Banshees or Ravens as a mech. And mixing in 1 or 2 missile turrets at your front is not a bad idea. What this will do is really help him, stop him from dropping on you.
Like up here, you mean?
Yeah. Close to your tanks, just slightly in front of your tanks. You don't want them behind, but if you put them in front, then they'll get an extra shot or 2 off if they try to fly in. You have a good missile turret kind of circle. Not so much in your main on the right side, it's a little bit exposed, but other than that, it's fine. You could also do more drops, since you know he doesn't have Vikings. You can definitely do Hellbat drops throughout the entire game. You can make just like 1 medevac at a time, and your goal is to be no more than like 3 or 4 medevacs, and then not lose them. So you can fly around this edge, go up here, and then you can kind of like you have to be careful. You can see when the Widow Mines are burrowed. Do you know how to see if they're burrowed in the ground? It's like a little dark crater.
No.
Okay, so if you well, I'll show you that before we end this replay, how they look. But it's a little dark crater in the ground where they burrow. Once you see it the first time, you know how to look for it. So you can go up in this direction, and then once you enter their base, the Terran's base, you always want to look for the Widow Mines. They're really hard to see mineral lines, but you would have been able to see this one. And it wouldn't have killed your medevac in 1 hit. But your goal is to get the Hellbats close to the mineral line, or the Hellions, which would be even better because then they give chase, close to the mineral line, and then do damage and save the medevac, so you're only dumping 200 minerals, and you save the gas for other things. Also, Hellions would be great to harass this third, and then while you harass the third, get the watchtower, and then run up the side and attack this base, his second base. So again, Hellions really great harass unit on this map. You could probably... Let's speed for a second so we can get rid of those. Okay. Pause. You could probably drop Hellions, like right here, on this very corner, and then just run them in. That's also a good place to attack them from. Worker-wise, you're ahead, which is great. Looks like you're on track of winning this game. His army's a little bigger, but definitely looks like you're on track to winning this game. And it also can't hurt to mix in like 1 or 2 Widow Mines at the front of your armies, not so that if something runs in, it'll splash your tanks if they fire. You want it at a little bit of a distance, like just randomly, so he has to spend a scan like right here and right here. This provides you cover, and it tells you something advanced. It makes him spend medevac energy. It does a few good things, and you can have like 4 to 6 around the map covering crucial attack points. That will help you a lot if you don't want to invest the money in like a sensor tower. This will, 4 of them is about the cost gas-wise for a sensor tower, and mineral-wise, it doesn't bother you. And you'll always one-shot a Marine, so mineral-wise, you almost always break even, and then if if they don't catch it and you kill another one, you're really starting to pull up ahead.
Yeah.
I think they kill Marauders in 1 hit too.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about the Marauder.
I think you're right, actually. I think I had that happen to them.
Alright, let's take a look here. So you're expanding. You're very ballsy with putting your expansions down where you build them. I would try to put them a little bit closer so you can fly them over.
Okay.
Another thing that I've noticed is that throughout the game you've had a lot of issues getting all your gas geysers, like your third,
Yep.
1 in each. Yeah. And then your second one, and it also couldn't hurt to repair your natural with just 1 SCV, because if they get a few units in, it's really easy for Marines to snipe buildings, especially Marauders. and you don't really want to take that risk.
Yeah.
You're going on a decent amount of factories. 5 is a good number. I would definitely make these 2 tech labs. You never really want more than 3 reactors in almost any matchup. Sometimes I don't even get a single reactor against zerg, but that's a whole different playstyle. So let's see here. Anything else we can quickly catch?
I think I'm about to. I lost another hellbat drop right here. I lost one here, and then I lost one up here earlier too.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed a lot myself lately is to really hug these edges if you can. And I've noticed a lot of pro players do that, and I was wondering, why do they go so far around? And then I had mine starting to be picked off really, really well the last few days, so that's what I've been doing too, is being really cautious with them.
I'm usually a little better about it earlier in the game, but when things start to get more demanding, it's good.
You also never want to unsiege your whole army at a time if you can help it. Leave like 1 or 2 tanks, just in case.
Gotcha.
You have a lot of idle SUVs.
Yeah, so that's the main.
But that's not too crucial. As long as you win the battle convincingly, you should be a really good place. You've seen his army composition. You know he has no Vikings. So Banshee, great move. 1 Raven, great move to stop Marauder shots. You have it for a while. You'll stop like 20 Marauder shots with 2-point defense drones. And that is a lot of damage. Let's keep looking here. You definitely have good upgrades. Your supply depots are going good. Again, this building it where it's going to be put has been limiting you and force you to kind of overextend a little bit. So force you to really get into this battle. Not in the way you kind of wanted either. Like it drew you really out of position. He can go around and attack it right now. I don't know why he's being that careful. You definitely should. I think right now the biggest thing I've noticed is your positioning seems okay, your macro seems to be okay for diamond. It's harassment that seems to be your weakness, not knowing where to harass and how to harass. That definitely seems to be your biggest flaw right now. I mean, against the players you're fighting against, you seem to be very on par with them. I would say almost slightly ahead in some aspects of your game style. Your positioning definitely seems better than theirs. Your macro seems just a little bit worse, but that's something that comes with time, And then, like just conscientious decisions like building command centers at your base and always checking your gases. Just be like, okay, just gonna check over my gases and how many workers do I have mining and stuff like that. Let's take a look at this battle here. So this is a little ballsy. I would kill the 2 tanks and then back off, maybe. Just until... Or siege, that works great, because then you have the sensor tower. So that's definitely a good move. I like that. Alright. So again, your positioning, pretty good. I mean, there's so many ways you can harass. You don't really know what's going on the map. Even just having like 1 or 2 hellions on patrol on the side bases so they don't side expo. That's very good.
These no towers are killing me too. I just don't have any vision.
Yeah, you don't...
Like he saw me take this because he had that to cause that whole fight right here.
Yep, absolutely correct. You have to... Your goal is to really know where they are on the map. And... so far, the knowledge... I mean, your positioning for not knowing where he is has been great. That's probably one of the reasons why you're picking up mech so well and why it feels easier for you. And I think it's because your positioning is actually much better than your opponents that I've seen so far. You definitely seem more confident in where to put your units than him. Other than that, it just seems to be like slight mistakes. I like the 2 extra starports, that's good. You can go up to Ravens, 2 Tech Labs, and then Vikings out of 1 Reactor. Like the extra factory, going up to 6 is a good number. You can definitely still float your barracks in the location to check for air. Maybe put like a radar tower here, and a radar tower like here. That would be a good spot. And you can really see different sides of the map.
Is this worth leaving behind?
No, not really. It will be really difficult for you to defend that. One of the ways that you could change the positioning there is you can... It's really hard because I like to make my thirds planetaries, but on this map an orbital is okay, but what you could do is once you secure this position with a planetary, keep like some missile turrets and siege tanks here and just a few hellbats, and then the rest of your army rallied over here. That way, if he takes the watchtower, he will lose a lot because you have vision of the watchtower. You can stop his medevacs. You'll do a lot of damage, and then you still have a planetary at your fourth to give you time to reinforce, and then that lets you keep at least half of your army close to, or at least almost half of your army close to your third, until you can get like a planetary fortress up in this location, and then good air control so you can prevent drops. And that'll allow you. So if he attacks like the base above your third instead of your third, and have that one be a planetary.
Or do you like putting a planetary like here, like on this ridge?
I do like putting a planetary close to the third, not quite on the ridge. I like it right above the orbital command. That way they can't just run straight into the mineral line. Yeah, just come from the side. The later the game goes on, the more planetaries I add on at expos. Up to a maximum of 3, but that's more against zerg, because of ultralisks. But against bio, I eventually like putting like 2 planetaries and 1 siege tank. It's really hard to defend far expos, maybe even 2 siege tanks and a bunch of missile turrets, and then building armor. Yeah, that's probably hurting you a little bit. You got a third reactor. That's not the best thing. You do have 2 tech labs, 1 reactor on your starport, so you can pump out a lot of hellbats, but the only reason why you can pump out so much is because you're not producing as much gas. He's in your base. Hellions would again clean that up really easily. A sensor tower I could see a little faster, but you cleaned it up just fine. Your supply is way ahead. Your upgrades are great. I would say you're definitely ahead in the game. Him having that tower over there is not beneficial for you. If you look at his vision compared to yours, that's definitely something. Yeah. You're both at equal bases, and you seem to have a difficult time saying, okay, I'm going to attack. So there has to be, there's 2 ways to really play mech, and you can either go, okay, I'm going to build up a large army, and then I'm going to attack, and he's either going to face my army head on, and I'm going to win, or he's going to base race. And the way that works is you move out like 170 or 180 supply, you rally your reinforcements inside your base, you drop a few turrets, and if he base races you, your reinforcements are all like siege tanks, and he hits a brick wall.
Yeah.
Or 2, you can go, okay, I'm going for this mass turtle style, which you're doing, but then you have to go exist it with harass. I have to force him to attack into me, and the only way to do that is if he fails majorly behind. So if you send like some blue hellions here, you can wipe out that mineral line, this mineral line, this mineral line, and just really decimate him to the point where he feels I have to attack, and then he attacks into you and he loses, and that's that. So with this style of mech that you have, definitely would get transformation service. You can start off everything fine, the normal, maybe an extra drop or 2, but once you're on like 3 bases, you have to remember that they're probably on 3 or 4 bases, and that makes it much easier for hellions to do harassments, or even Cloak Banshee still at this phase, because he does have a turret here, but at his 4th, but you can attack the gases from top, really draw him out of position, maybe send some hellions to take out the missile turret, and then use a Banshee later on. He might forget about the missile turret dying,
The blue flame and TvT definitely seems like it's going to be a good idea.
Yeah, blue flame, transformation service, those are 2 wonderful upgrades for mech. They're probably, they make it a much easier, like the Hellbat provides a lot of the buffer, but we still need to be able to do the run-bys. And the strongest style of mech is harass, 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 and then in the meantime, you grow this huge unstoppable army. So that's kind of where it goes. Like, I don't know if you've seen my Terran against Zerg, but I try to do a lot of harassments, and then I hit a brick wall. There's swarm hosts, so I get just enough tanks to survive, and then I go back into mass hellions with transformation and harass all the bases while I build ravens in the background. Like earlier today, I did that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like the same style. And another thing you can do is drop like a sensor tower here, here, and here, and that gives you huge vision over almost half of the map. It lets you transform your hellions to stop drops coming through, or you know, Vikings on patrol. Maybe keep like a missile turret by one of them, just so you can't just accidentally fly into it. And a single missile turret in random locations isn't bad. It helps scout for like cloak banshees, helps scout for widow mines, helps stop drops from just flying in through a random area. They're more likely to go around, but it just helps just in case. There's a few things like that. Let's see here. I'm looking where you're building next. So again, here you're building at the location in all three places. At the later stages of the game, it's not okay to have that in like one area or two areas on the opposite side of the map. But another thing you can do is like build it in this corner. That way, if he scans there, sends a unit, he won't see it. And then you can just float it up and then land it, you know, so you can still build it close to there and then fly it over.
I think he ends up catching two of these two, actually, that bottom one and this one.
Yeah, well, let's take a look here. See where he goes. So you don't know where he's coming from, and you're forced to pull your entire army back. Looks like he's going to do a lot of damage. Cancel it, take out the base. So from here it's really difficult, because you do have a Banshee, which is great. It's kind of difficult because he's already in a siege position, so you're losing so far a lot more than he is. Because you had to go into that position. You also lost a base. And an orbital command too, which means less scans. I would have almost gone for a base trade, because of how far you were away, and now you're really playing from behind.
Yeah, I take a siege position, I think, to get back in it.
Yeah, your position for the move up was good, and he's trying to take out your bottom left base with a few units.
Well, I think I'll just start to crawl and put a fork between his fourth and his fifth.
Yeah, this right now, this pretty much puts you in. This pretty much puts you in. It's all or nothing. If this attack fails, I lose, and he can easily go around me and do a base race. Another thing is that you're making 4 command centers right now at a time. I would have made 2 at the most because you're still not quite maxed out.
No.
So you could have used the extra money. Also with transformation servos, when you're doing a siege position like this and you're not losing tanks, you're only losing hellbats and hellions. You can make hellions. They can quickly get to the fight, so all of a sudden the mech is really able to reinforce with fast units and then just transform them.
Gotcha.
So
He got a lot more workers than I thought he did.
yeah, he definitely has more workers than you. You're moving up nicely. It's a good crawl. You could move a little bit faster, but it's fine. You could send your Thor in first. There you go. Thors are really good. And that definitely gets you back into the game. It actually puts you ahead. You put the squeeze on him and force him to attack you again here. So once again, you're now ahead, but you're starting to lose some siege tanks. And you're not really reinforcing, because you have 1 siege tank stuck on the ramp. You're putting a good squeeze on him, just a little further and you can hit. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff blocking. So ultimately from this position, your goal is to get right here. So you can hit the production facilities, the second base, and the third base. So that's kind of where you want to make your crawl. Good snipe on the medevac trying to come in and drop. Sending the hellbats to the extra base, that's good. I wouldn't quite have sent that many, just like 2 or 3. So just because you know that he's got no defenses there. He is coming to attack you. One of the things you can do in this situation is leave a few SCVs in the auto repair, so you don't have to focus there. He's doing some okay drops on you. We still have a contain for now. Your tanks were a little bit too split up, and I would say the reason why you lost that is your lack of reinforcements.
Yeah, this amount of shit back here is
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That would have probably caused you to win the game right here. He does have a lot of siege tanks. He has more siege tanks than you do, which is not something you really want.
right.
Your minerals low, because you made so many command centers. You didn't need 2 planetary fortresses there. You can have one with like building armor, and it'll help.
Okay.
Yeah, your gases are not the biggest issue right now. I mean, you're still not quite mining them, but once you have a lot of gas and few minerals, you can really get into Raven production. I definitely think you need to focus on getting another base. It would have to be towards the left side of the map, because that's the direction you're attacking in.
Yeah.
Your reinforcements are coming in good now. You're way ahead in army supply. You're going around, which is also good, so again, great positioning. There's a drop going out on the left, but that's fine. Yes, so reposition. So, Ravens are actually another good reason why they're a good transition and why we get to Tech Labs is because Ravens are right here. You can take the middle one and put 300 secret missiles on it, and you will kill 6 siege tanks. Like, the very middle one, and that'll automatically break the position. You can, the moment he sieges, you know, you both siege up at the same time, they'll be like, oh yeah, I started to siege first, but boom, you know, there are like 300 secret missiles. Right after you siege, you put them on, and he has to go, oh crap, I have to unsiege or die. And if he doesn't unsiege, he loses most of his tanks, and you can just push forward. If he does unsiege, you can push forward as well, because a few of them are still going to hit, because it takes so long to load up. You're definitely going to take out the majority of his tanks, and then you can just walk over the rest. So that's one thing I'd start up, especially with the energy. You do like to lose your Hellbats on top of him, so one of the alterations I would make is try to keep them close to your tanks. The general rule would be if your tanks aren't firing, you don't want your Hellbats attacking. And another thing is that if you have a few medevacs, you can drop them on top of the siege tanks instead, and that will distract them. Good retreat here, because you don't have much of a buffer. I don't think you needed to cancel that base.
I wasn't sure, actually. I was trying to...
Spare the minerals, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing here, when you're down to so few mineral patches, your mules don't last a long time. I would only drop like 1 mule for every 2 low mineral patches if you can.
Okay.
And then save them up. You know, if you save them, you can drop them on fresh mineral patches. Like just, you can be like, okay, you know, I'm going to clear this tower. I'm going to drop an orbital command here from my base. Drop every mule I can. Mule it out constantly. Don't send any workers there. Just, I'm not planning on expanding to this base for a long time. I'm just going to have an orbital command there that I'm going to mule. That's it. So that'll help you in preserving your resources a little bit longer, because bases are kind of hard to acquire for Terrans.
Yeah.
For mech Terrans. Oh, a little... Actually, I think we can show you what the Widow Mine looks like burrowed here.
Yeah, I ran over this one. I forgot about that.
Okay, so do you see where the Widow Mine is? First go to like all vision and then hit 2.
Yeah.
So that little crater right there is
okay.
what it looks like. That's
Oh, I
always
didn't
what they
know
look
that.
like.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you can always see where the Widow Mines are in advance, just because of the critter they leave. Which sucks. I wish burrowed Banelinks did the same thing. But, because I mean, then, you know, it would be probably a little bit more balanced. But yeah, anytime you see this, just back away. It's really hard to see when they're close to buildings, when they're close to mineral lines, but right there, it's a good spot.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else going on. Let's see here. So good positioning. You want to go for the watchtower first. You want to hold that spot. Siege up right here. Very good. Back at home, you have a lot of idle SCVs. You could be long distance mining. Your siege tanks are, I mean, your hellbats are kind of a little extended, but it's okay because you have a lot of them. You should take out his tanks and then walk away. There you go. Now, you didn't lose any siege tanks with that, and what you can go is with, okay, the less siege tanks he has, as long as I have a good, like, 8 or 10 of them, I don't really need that many more.
Okay.
So I can make a choice. I can keep producing siege tanks and make my line bigger, or I can keep producing buffer. And one is like, I'm going to crawl slowly, but I'm going to crawl more powerfully. And the other one is like, I'm going to crawl faster, and I'm going to have faster reinforcements, but I'm not going to be as tough. So it's kind of a decision you have to make. And with Transformation Hellbats, it's not that bad of a decision as long as you retain your tank numbers. If you lose a tank doing the fast reinforcement style, you're going to have to make like 2 tanks back.
Okay.
Just to make sure that you can hold the line. Here, you could probably push straight into the sweet spot in between the bases.
Right.
Sieging up, not that bad of an idea though. The siege up right there, yeah. Some medevacs you could easily drop on those siege tanks. It's always good to have like an extra medevac or 2 if you can.
Okay.
This is a good attack in. I assume this is where you win the game because you're now in his production facilities.
I feel like I should have won that way earlier though.
Yeah.
And lost it way earlier.
There are definitely a few ways you could have won it faster and lose it faster. Overall, pretty good game. I definitely think we found the number 1 or 2 things that you really could focus on, and that's one is more this harassment style, and number 2, it's more knowing what's on the map style. You know, just the 2 things that you really need to work on is where they are and how do I exploit you without using my whole army. While I build a whole army too. And, building your command centers closer to your base or in hitting locations and then flying them over to make them a planetary. So how do you feel about that specific game? Do you have any more questions about that game?
No.
Okay, that's good. Would you like to review another matchup?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, let's see what else. What is using my... Try this one.
Okay, let's take a look here. So this is a Terran against protoss. The matchup of the century.
Honestly, since I started doing mech, this matchup has skyrocketed for me.
It's definitely easier in the lower leagues. Yeah, it's definitely easier in the lower leagues because a lot of protoss actually just really don't know how to exploit mech, and it's really hard to see. As Terrans and zergs, all the races have a way of exploiting the other races. But protoss, they're more accustomed to, I'm going to make Colossi, I'm going to make Templar, and I'm going to steamroll your army. But this changes, you see. With Bio, you're there to break the protoss. With protoss, you're there to break the Terran mech. And the matchup is all about how good they are breaking you. And the reason why so many players feel like, oh, you know what? Drops are overpowered, or Swarm Hosts are overpowered, or Colossi plus Storm is overpowered is because their micro isn't nearly as good and their execution isn't nearly as good. And it always takes slightly better execution to break something than to defend it. You know, you have the defender's advantage. I'm not saying that it's always easier. There are definitely times where it's a lot easier, like putting pylons in different locations and warping in like 6 zealots at 2 different locations and sending them into orbital command. That's easy. Or going for hellbat drops where you drop in 3 locations where you just tell them to drop and you stim them in. that's easy as long as there's no defense. But when you get to the stage where there's a lot of, okay, I know he's gonna try to do this, and I try to do this. There's not a lot of these mind games until you're higher on in the leagues, like high masters, and it doesn't really become an issue until then.
I find swarm hosts are pretty hard to break sometimes. I've been really far ahead in a few games, and people have crawled back in just with mass swarm hosts.
And that's
just because I'm slow at incorporating ravens. It's just not something I've ever used when I played Terran.
One of the ways I would engage the swarm host is just have enough siege tanks to defend the locusts. Then make... Sorry, there's a little bit of noise here.
That's fine.
So, you just have enough siege tank to hold back the locusts, and then you create hellions with transformation. You just dump a little bit of gas. It saves you so much gas. You need so few minerals for ravens that you just send the hellions. You can actually, you send out the locusts. You know, I'm going to scan quick, take a few pot shots off, maybe weaken some swarm hosts, take out 1 or 2 for free, just for minerals, and then run away and hit his mineral line and transform. And your goal is to draw him all the way back to his base. So you just, as long as he's chasing your hellions, you just run all the way into the back of his base and then hellbat mode.
Pushing up and then holding the swarm push every time.
Yep, you don't even have to move up though, you just keep pushing him back to delay his attack, and then you can just go into ravens, and then when you're at a comfortable, I would say when you have 3 Hunter-Seeker missiles, you're good to target a clump of them, fire off the Hunter-Seeker missiles, and kill a clump of swarm hosts, and as long as you have them distracted and he's not paying attention, awesome, because if he doesn't move them within the first 2 or 3 seconds, he will guarantee to lose them. And then the more ravens you have, the more you can do.
Do you always Hunter-Seeker the same thing 3 times, or do you Hunter-Seeker 3 different things?
Goal eventually, is to, or my goal in general is to Hunter-Seeker missile each swarm host once, to guarantee that they all take some damage. That way he has to split every single one of them, and instead of just sending one away for like 4 Seeker missiles, then then it's like, okay, you just wasted 4 Seeker missiles on a single swarm host. But if you put him on 4 different swarm hosts, he not only has to split and move these 4, he has to make sure nothing else is next to it, so they don't take damage.
Okay.
So let's take a look here and kind of see where this goes. I do like the Reactor Hellion opener here. I don't know if you saw my YouTube guide where I changed the build a little bit to do a Reactor Hellion opener where I start off with 2 Hellions into 2 Widow Mines into a medevac drop, so I can, it's just a whole different style. I have it up on YouTube, and I think it's definitely worthy for you to check it out because it has a whole transition built into it as well. The second gas is a little bit early. You can definitely do it. It just delays your expo a bit, and then you have a lot of gas that you need to dump. Another way you can do that is by, once you're done with Marines and Hellions, you can go into like Marines each tank, 1 Raven, and then into Vikings to dump the gas. I like the Hellion Harass. The first thing I try to do is try to get up the ramp first. If that doesn't work, then go into the natural, because the more workers are always at the ramp, they're always more clumped up. And then you could have gone up the ramp to hit the stalkers. You could have picked off probably twice, maybe even 3 times the amount of workers and ended the game right here. If they drop down a force field, there is one problem, is if they drop a force field behind your Hellions and they have a wall off. Most of the time, especially in lower leagues, this is not the case and will never be the case. Until you get to Masters, you should almost never be concerned about that, and always try to go for the ramp. And Hellions are actually very efficient at killing sentries. And then once he drops his Nexus Cannon, if you can get the units out of there, go ahead. If you can't, try to get as many workers as you can. So like right now, you could even run by, because 3 Hellions is enough to do a lot of damage to workers. Even 2 Hellions is enough to do a lot of damage to workers. And yeah, you have 4 in his natural. But he'll probably pick one off running into his main. But if you see like how clumped his units are, and his workers in his main, it's always good. So here you can do like a little circle around, go back in, kind of test the waters. or just poke at the edge. You only want like 2 medevacs at the most, if you can, and just try not to lose them. It's a mistake I make occasionally, is losing the medevacs. You did good harassment in his main. You killed 4 workers, not really worth as much of the costs though, because if you look at the units lost.
Mothership core too.
Oh, actually, the units lost, you did a lot of damage. Yeah. Never mind. And you did get the mothership core, yeah. Widow mine's good. Speed boost, good. Doing great damage. He noticed it a little late. One thing you can do is you can drop like 2 widow mines here, and then speed boost in, and send the 2 widow mines to the front.
That makes sense, actually.
So, like, you drop them, move the medevac to the front. While it's moving, you send the widow mines to the ramp. Then you drop in his mineral line. He'll probably notice around that time, try to split them. And then once you burrow the widow mine in his mineral line, you'll also have the ones in the ramp. And he'll be like, okay, 2 widow mines in 2 places. Then send in the hellions. So he's got like 3 places to defend, and if he's focusing entirely on the hellions, he's not mining in his mineral base, you know, and he won't be mining at his expo because he'll be running for his life, and he'll be losing a lot of mining time. You targeted a pylon and a nexus. Your target firing could use a little bit of work. You definitely could have killed a lot more workers there, but you're doing good. You've killed a lot, which is great. You're almost even in worker count, which means you're ahead because you have mules. I like the Hellbat siege tank transition. That's pretty good. So you're following this up pretty nicely. Again, getting your gases seems to be a little bit of a problem for you.
Yeah, I'm noticing that too. I build them and then don't put the fucking things in them.
Yeah. You also have some clumped up SUVs.
Yeah, it looks like a bad rally.
Yeah, I would definitely, each game, every 2 to 3 minutes, make sure you just check on your mineral lines and your gases. Go, how many workers do I have here, and are my gases good? And then just look at that every game, just every 3 or 4 minutes to make a mental note, a reminder, if you will. Drops going out, that's good. Looks like you're going to drop in 2 locations.
I did catch the gases and stuff earlier this time.
Yes, you did. That's very good. Doing a lot of damage. You lost 1 medevac. That's fine. You're ahead now in the worker count, and you see you should have seen the robotics facility, which gives you a hint. Okay, I need Vikings. As long as he's only got 1 robo, you can produce 1 Viking at a time. If he's got 2 robos, you can produce 2 Vikings at a time, and you should be good. You're going out on the map, but you don't quite really know where he is, so this could be dangerous. If this is the case, if you move out on the map with a mech army, you always have to be ready for the base race. So I would rally your units here.
Okay.
That way you can just evacuate your natural and evacuate your third, and you already have everything in position, because the hardest thing for you to save is your army.
Right.
And it's the #1 thing you want. So let's take a look here. So he sends a scout, goes for your third. From here you could go, okay, he's at my base, it's too late to retreat, I'm going for the pure attack.
Yeah, that's what I think I decided.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I think he'll recall.
I would have, yeah, he does recall actually, which is fine on your part because you ended up being right there. And you decimate him there. Yeah. So, great decision making. The only thing I would have done different is that you didn't need it this game, but the moment he was at my third, I would have lifted up my natural, at least lifted it, not worry about the SUVs, because, you know, they'll be transferring back and forth, and then drop it down once I feel safe. That way, if it gets cut off, you can just fly it away, and at least some of the SUVs are inside of your base. Definitely one thing I would do there. I'm taking a look at the rest of your base. You have quite a lot of factories, which is not a problem because you only have very few add-ons. You have double armory, so you have a lot of economy, a lot of minerals you can dump. And let me take a look here. Upgrades are good. It is about the 15-minute mark. Once you've established your third base, or you drop it down, you really want to start thinking about going for ghosts. So when you saw how many immortals he had, you know, that could have been a little bit of a problem. But you want to make sure, is he making more immortals or is he making colossi? And if he's making colossi, Vikings. If he's making more immortals, ghosts, hellbats, and medevacs are the best counter.
Okay. So it's kind of similar to bio then, because in bio, when I take a third, I always drop ghost in second starport almost every time.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to be really cautious because your minerals are so, especially your gas is so intensive. You have to be absolutely sure that you need either double starport or even just reactor starport, depending on how many robotics he has and how fast he's pumping out colossi. Or you really have to know what he's making a little bit more for sure. See, your army is more. It's stronger in a defensive position, but it's much harder for you to be aggressive if you don't have the right unit composition. It's even more so than against than with bio against protoss, unless you're doing a lot of drops or hellion run-throughs. And another thing with this this type of army is if you look where his cannons are, his type of defense, is you can put your hellions on the side here and hit the edges of the mineral lines with your hellions without being hit by the cannons. So that's one thing I definitely throw in a little bit more here as well. So overall, great game. I think you played very well. You seem to have a really good grasp of your build order. You seem to have a really good grasp of your positioning. I definitely think that the next step for you to take that I'm 100% sure that if you step this up, you will be promoted to Master League in no time. You'll start winning games like crazy, is where you just know where he is on the map and you focus on harassing more without losing your units, if you can. If you are losing units, as few as possible, and try to have them be mineral only.
Like how bad.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I would notice. Do you want to see a Terran against zerg replay now to try to see what we can pinpoint there? Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. So what would you say your worst matchup is?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Really don't. My mid-win rate is lowest in TvP, but that's only because I was having a terrible time at bio against it. Going off the changes of that.
Yeah.
I think like even that has come up. It was at like 30-something%. It's up to in a day almost 45 or 46, and everything else is over 50.
Yeah. What a cheeky zerg.
Yeah, I lose this game, and I was pissed about it. Actually, I thought. What do you see on the damage? I didn't even watch it because I was so upset. But I thought I did pretty good damage early because I started just pouring on hellions. I believe.
I think that when you're in this situation, you do have a lot of aliens, but just this early on in the 6-minute 45-second mark, we can already see that you have a lot of gas. A lot of gas. So one thing you could do is send some workers back to the mineral line and then drop an extra command center. So your goal is to try to get up to 3 command centers while you do this hellion arrest.
Okay. That makes sense. I think my thought when I saw this, because I mean I've played Zerg for a long time, so when I saw this I was like, holy hell.
Yeah, it's definitely strange. The general rule of thumb is you only want to be 1 base behind the Zerg, and you can still catch up. But you never want to be 2 bases behind. So from here you gotta go, okay, I know I have to expand. But you can also go, hellions are going to be a really good thing here. So while I expand, I'm going to make a lot of hellions because he's got a lot of hatcheries down, so I don't have to be too afraid of a roach transition, at least not for a little bit. So you should be able to do some decent damage, which seems to be the case. He has a lot of larvae though, and he's able to make a lot of zerglings because of it. Kill 16 workers there, but you're not really able to capitalize it because you don't have a second base up right now. So 2 widow mines at the front, I like that. I think you should have kept with the hellion arrest.
Okay, let's.
At least for a little bit longer.
Been able to win this game. When I saw this all at like 1 minute, I felt like I should have been able to win the game outright.
Yeah, it's not terrible to exploit killing him like this. What you want to stop hellions the moment you scout the possibility of roaches. I do like the Widowmine drop. One thing I would have added, since you've had a lot of resources, is going for the Widowmine burrow speed. And another thing you could do is you don't have to expand quite as fast if you're always playing cost efficient and he's being very aggressive. If he's being very defensive, you should expand a little faster. Let's take a look here. So with the slow burrow time, it's difficult for you to get a lot of damage done with the overseer. So from here you can go, okay, you know, I have the watchtower. From what I can see, he's going roaches, so alright, how can we follow this up? How can we match his greed? Because he's only planning on making drones probably for a while, and if he's planning on attacking, we'll be able to see it because we have the watchtower. So we're gonna make the #1 counter to roaches is to have widow mines. And I love widow mines, and one of the things I want to show you is one of my favorite strategies after this game. It's the new strategy I've been working on. I feel like it's my strongest Terran against Zerg strategy. I have like a 75% win-loss with it against Grandmasters. And it really exploits roaches. I don't know if you've seen my safe opener on YouTube. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, it's really good against zerglings, and then when they go into roaches or anything air-based, anything but zerglings, this opener is amazing. So it also lets you be really defensive, really greedy, and then really aggressive when you want to be. Yes, he definitely drones a lot. You seem to be getting a decent number of drones. You're definitely keeping him down on the drone count, but then he just remakes a shit ton. This is why it's very important you macro behind this as well. You're doing a good attack. It would seem like this attack should crush him if it's not for mutas. You should be making mutas very soon. Yeah, there they are. So that's probably what stops your attack. Once you're at this phase and you see how few roaches he has, you should immediately push into him as deep as you can, because it means he's just making the units now. You caught him in between the drone cycle. So the problem here was you waited too long. The moment you see nothing, just push, 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 push. So you're losing a lot here, and from here I would just make skip the Hellbat production, because the Widow Mines are great against mutas, they're great against roaches, so you can go, okay, he's got roaches and mutas, I'm going to make Widow Mine and a Thor at a time, as many Widow Mines, try to drop some turrets, get Widow Mine burrow speed, and Zergs have a lot of issue running into Widow Mines at lower lakes. Get into his natural area. So this is getting kind of close.
And my thought was, okay, I'm going to lose all these Hellbats, so I might as well do something with them.
Yeah. It's definitely true.
This is just going to happen across the map, which I probably should have pushed it in the
Let's take out your expo here. So you have a lot of missile turrets. You probably don't need this many if you have Widow Mines. That saves you a few minerals. So from here you're actually very far behind, because he was able to deny your third. He's already on 3 bases, he has a lot of drones, he's running behind this, you're in a very defensive position. You have to spend a lot of minerals on missile turrets. Definitely not something you want to do. I mean, you did need a lot of missile turrets, but because you were producing Hellbats, but missile turrets are really easy to get through when you have this many mutalisks, so you really need some splash, like Widow Mines and Thors. And you are getting some Thors, which is good. He's double expanding. You can definitely afford it. I would imagine this is now turning into a snowball effect, because if you don't secure your third very soon, you will die. Let's see how long, because there's not too much we can gather from here unless you can get your third. And here comes the Swarm Host. You don't have a lot of siege tanks. you don't have the capability of getting a lot of siege tanks. You're able to produce 3 at a time, which is okay, but you have a lot of gas. You can't outproduce the amount of gas you have. From here you can go around, which you are. That's great. Oh, you're not attacking. Well, that's only because he's in your mineral line, and yeah, now the game would definitely be over.
Yeah.
He's maxed. I don't feel like we can learn anything else from this game right now.
No.
Alright. So you want to just leave this one?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Were you able to catch this morning's stream? No? Alright, so let me show you something here. Let me pull up one of my replays from my other account. And we'll show you a different way to play Terran against Zerg. A more defensive, it's more punishing. If the Zerg player doesn't know how to punish you, you will win almost every single game. And it's really fun to win this way because it really seems overpowered to Zergs who just don't know how to fight against it. But in reality, the answer can be very simple. And that's just, you know, outplay him and know his transitions and what's going on. But yeah, let's have a good one here. Alright, would you mind tossing me later?
Oh,
Oh, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look here. So this is my favorite opener against Zerg. My #1 favorite opener. Besides the safe opener, but I've really figured that one out, and this is the next strategy I'm building. So, alright, so in this opener, what we focus on is the key points. #1, we have to survive. #2, we want to play greedy because we want to win in the macro game. And oh yeah, he was, sorry, I forgot this guy was angry. I killed him in the last game. Sorry. Nobody pay attention to the BM. In my defense, he started it. #2, this makes you pretty safe. It's great at transitioning. Wow, let's just skip through some of this. Woo, I picked the wrong game to show you. Okay, so what we do is we open up with a normal, we're gonna get a supply depot on 10, we're gonna get a barracks on 12, we can get our gas geyser. It really is irrelevant at how soon we get it. I like to get it at 15 because I like to play a little bit greedy, but this makes you a little bit weaker to things like 7 roach rush. Or stuff like that, you know, like really early on aggressiveness. But a lot of Zergs don't do that type of stuff, so it's not that big of a concern. So I like to get it on 15. If he gets his extractor, oh, there's more. So our goal is to go up to 4 Marines, and we also want a barracks with our 100 gas right after the factory's down. We want our command center. The 4 Marines are just so we can fit them in the bunker. We don't need any more Marines. We can use the barracks to wall off, that way we need 1 less supply depot. Our goal is to be walled off at the front by 6 minutes. And we have to build extra supply depots to be able to do that. Because at 6 minutes and 3 seconds, speed can be finished. So now we have a wall off, Zerglings can't just run in and surround the bunker. That's step #1. Step #2 is any good bust comes around the 7-minute and 30-second mark with the roaches or banelings, so we need siege tanks. So you can see I'm only producing siege tanks and a second bunker just in case a little bit, and I put my tank by the siege tank. This means that if the first bunker gets compromised, I just move everything back into the back bunker. So if I see banelings run up, I just immediately unload the bunker and move them into the back one. Let's see here. Alright, and we get our second gas geyser fairly early on, you know, once we plant our expo. Killing this overlord felt so good because he BM'd me. Siege tank up at the front, so we want to go up to 2 to 3 siege tanks. It's your call, depending on how safe you feel. And then we produce widow mines instead. Why widow mines? Because We have to cover the fundamentals to survive. Number 1, can zerglings kill me? No. Number 2, can banelings kill me? No. What's the next thing that can kill me that can come in the next time? And that's roaches. Widow mines are like a siege tank shot, but they're much, much cheaper, and they take about the same time to make, so they're more burst. So you have to go, okay, I don't want to invest all the resources in the siege tank because I want to get more factories. My goal is to get up to 2 factories right after the 2 siege tanks and a 3rd base. The 3rd base is that if he does play greedy, I already have a command center in my base and I can match his drone count. If he does attack me and I lose a lot of workers, I can make more SCVs really fast. If he doesn't play greedy, and he's very, very aggressive, and I hold it off, I'm way ahead. So I also want enough units to hold a lot of things off, and for the longest time I had trouble deciding what that was, but this is my answer to Terran against zerg. So once you have your 3rd command center, you can go, okay, I have my 3rd command center now. You can make 2 choices. You can delay the 3rd command center if you know he's going to be aggressive. If you're not sure, you get the 3rd command center, and after that you get your 2 gases at your expo. So once you're at the and once you've dropped 3 command centers, you want all your gases. No matter what, you do want it because you will have too many minerals if you don't.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you're going to have a million drones. You'll be stuck at first, but you'll...
Exactly. Now, another beautiful thing about this playstyle is we just keep producing widow mines. We get a single armory for now. You can go up to 2 armory depending on how greedy you want to play. And we make, sorry, let me slow this down. We just make widow mines, and we get widow mine burrow. We add on factories, but we don't get the add-ons. So we're just going to give it a second for the resources to come through. I do like to drop an engineering bay by the 8-minute 30-second mark, and then I do like to get a single missile turret, 1 in each mineral line, by the 10-minute mark. Preferably the 9-minute 30 mark if I don't have widow mines. But now I have widow mines, and this because he's on 2 bases, and if he's going for 2 base Mutalisk, my missile turrets are well defending my base. Okay.
I like this attack is late.
He's going for very early drop. His answer to me was, okay, last game I couldn't break your front, so this game I'm going to go through and through the side. And this also counters that pretty well. You see, what we're doing is drop is now complete. He's on his way. He's dropping in. And we have a lot of widow mines. We also have a sensor tower at the front, single one, so we can see things coming in advance. And we can see a large section of the map. So this makes me feel pretty darn safe, and we have a lot of explosive damage. We also throw down 2 extra factories. We can go up to like 6 to 8 factories before our starport doing this strategy because we don't get the add-ons, because we have such a large economy, and this means that in the late game we will have so much production that it's scary for a mech player.
What's the theory behind no add-ons?
So the theory behind no add-ons is that, okay, if I have a reactor, I'm going to be producing 2 units at a time, but I still have to build the factories. I need only enough units to survive and to keep my production going. So with this specific style, just having the tech lab, I can get Thors or siege tanks, and then buffer whatever I need. If he's got a lot of zerglings, I can get a lot of hellions. You know, until you're at 6 bases, you can't really afford that many add-ons, especially gas-heavy add-ons. So we need a mineral dump. So the less gas we spend on getting these add-ons and reactors, the more we can spend on getting factories, since we already have so many minerals anyway. So imagine if one of these factories had a tech lab. I mean a reactor. That's like 75 less minerals that we can invest on a regular basis on not only more upgrades, like +1 attack or like a burrow mine. You know, if we get those, we can still get them, but then our factories come up slower, our missile turrets come up slower. We can't get quite as much, and we only really need enough units to defend. So let's take a look here. So he comes in, he does the drop, and immediately we get into position. We unsiege everything, we send the widow mines out, we keep making widow mines. So from here, I have to know, okay, the #1 key thing is he cannot get into my production facility, because once he kills my units, I'm dead. So I guard the production facility. I also make use of the ramp. So you can see I put 1 siege tank on the bottom, 1 siege tank behind the widow mines. So they're firing and covering each other. The widow mines are in front, taking the damage. And I pull my workers, only from 1. just so they can repair the siege tank. And you can see that he's taking a huge amount of damage because he cannot stay in my production facilities. He's lost a lot to the Widow Mines. He's now sniping the Widow Mines, and I'm just repairing this tank. The two tanks are definitely helping each other out. He does get another one here. I think he gets the other tank here, but I'm not as concerned with that. More Widow Mines come out, I burrow them out immediately. Huge splash damage. Yeah, this is definitely an all-in. He's able to do a lot of damage, but not enough to set me back. So then the moment the base is safe, I send my SCVs down. Only from one base, mind you. Just enough that I need to repair this other tank, and you can see that both siege tanks can cover each other very easily. And now this base is safe. So we go back, we re-establish the front, we produce more Widow Mines. You can see just one siege tank and the rest are Widow Mines. We fix our economy, and we're both on two bases, but it's not like he can push into me. And I always put my Widow Mines in between him and myself. I put my siege tanks in a position where they can all cover each other. The one out here is a little overextended. That is my mistake. And I do fix that in just a moment. I believe, anyway. And now we know that he's got drops, so I drop some missile turrets. Because I don't really want him dropping into my base. That's one of the scariest things if I try to move out. So we want to be able to take out as many overlords as possible. And we already have a lot of minerals, so we're not that concerned. We're definitely even or equal in economy. I knew when he was getting his third because I scanned it. Reestablishing our wall, getting our supply depots. We're just playing as if nothing happened, and we're going back to our infrastructure. Now, here's where I go, okay, I have a lot of factories. I can just drop add-ons. I have a lot of Widow Mines. So many Widow Mines and so much gas, more gas than I can spend on with my minerals. So I'm just going to drop all these tech labs. I already have my buffer. The only thing I could really need is some Hellbats and siege tanks and Thors. So once you feel like, okay, I have a lot of mineral units, you can throw down the add-ons, which really only have to be tech labs. You don't really need that more with this style. And this means you can pump out a lot of siege tanks at a time. So I established my front. 2 Widow Mines is the key to killing an overlord dropping creep. It's really annoying for them to stop that. I have my barracks out on the map to see where he's going. And you can yeah. And you can see I'm getting a single medevac to harass. I'm getting missile turret range and 3 Thors at a time. That's a lot of Thors. That's all I can afford though. And more missile turrets at my third so he can't drop on my third. Now again, my positioning, siege tanks can cover each other, Widow Mines out front, Thor is a buffer, he's also out front. So from here, you do a lot, you can do a lot. I believe I scouted the swarm host, so I build siege tanks. I think I did really scout, yeah, because I scooted my Widow Mines closer to my tanks. I send 4 out in the medevac, but so I go, okay. Here's Swarm Host. I'm going to make enough tanks to survive, and because I didn't get any add-ons earlier, I can really dump into it. Now, once I have enough tanks, I get the transformation servos, and I start producing Hellbats. So you can see that he has 17 Swarm Hosts to my soon 10 Siege Tanks. The goal is to have 1 Siege Tank for every Swarm Host. Excuse me, I have to clear my throat 1 second. Okay, so now we're at 17 Swarm Hosts and 9 Siege Tanks, so he can make 1 more and we're still fine. We can still kill all the locusts before they reach our tanks. Not only that, we have a lot of plus attack upgrades, so they die pretty fast. We have Thors as a buffer, we have Widow Mines as a buffer. We are safe. And our goal now is just to harass him. You can see I have this dropship flying around. I drop the Widow Mines wherever I can do damage. I hurt some of his overlords, as you can see here, trying to do damage, waiting for a new charge. And I'm just making hellions, transformation servos, and 3 starports. I do like to go up to 4 starports. See, 1 Widow Mine here, so just kind of, so I know where he is on the map, and now I have a second medevac to help this one. I know he can't shoot them down. He can't now because he has corruptors, but I can still do a decent amount of damage. And you can see he's nowhere close to breaking my front.
And you said it's one tank for every 2?
Yeah, I have one tank for every 2 swarm hosts. And you can see that I drop the Widow Mines away from his Spore Crawler so they don't die, the Medevacs, and then I send the Widow Mines in. Because I don't want to lose the Medevacs. I just try to do whatever damage I can, pick up, and go away. So, not too many losses. I lost 4 Widow Mines for a lot of workers. Not that big a deal. Well, not too many workers, but enough workers and a queen larva. So, not that big a deal as long as we keep them busy away. Now here's where it really comes in. So we have enough hellions and we have transformation servos that we can now pressure bases really well. He does have... Sorry, I don't know why I'm lagging. I'm trying to slow it down. He does have a lot of roaches here, and we were able to use the Hellbats and the Widow Mines to do some damage and pressure on that side. I shouldn't have attacked into there, but now you can see I'm going on the other side. And I just keep going around him. And I see some swarm hosts here, just hit them. But they're just hellions. I don't need these minerals. All I really need is the gas. So you can see I killed one, scan, try to get an extra hit off. And if you trade hellions for swarm hosts, or take out a few, you need less siege tanks. You spend less gas. It's definitely good. So you can see it's really hard to break the front. Really hard to break the front. And then the hellions are the mobile harass unit. Take another few shots off. Try to lure him back into his base. As far back as I can get him. And then he has to move all the way back out, so I lured him all the way across the side of the map. And again, hellions going out, not being too cautious. Some Widow Mines on the map. Just, all of this is like harass, harass, harass. This is the motto behind every matchup for mech, is harass while you build the army. And it's something, I mean, I still need to work on, and you can take expos with building armor and planetaries, keep them busy. Your goal is to ultimately kill a base or workers. If you can get the base, awesome. I think I get it here. No, I just barely miss it. But I keep him busy. And then you'll see in a moment why this works. Like, if you can tell, we've thrown away a lot of minerals. But yeah, very gas heavy. If you hit A and go to active forces, you can see that I'm very close to him on the gas count, and he had a much earlier start because he was able to mass expand more. And here we're able to use the Hellbat transformation to kill some workers and then kill his greater spire. So I mean, that's even more beautiful. We know that he can't remake his broodlords, and again, more hellions doing pressure in this location. Sorry. We get sorry, we get this hatchery in the top left, which means less gas. So we feel really safe. We know he has to do a counterattack. We send Widow Mines out to kind of watch for it. We do a Thor drop, just because we can. You know, pull him even more back, drop it around. I think we actually end up getting the infestation pit. It's another key structure that he needs.
You're pretty much just never stopping the drop.
Yeah. My goal is to harass him without losing units. And you can see I killed a few infestors with that Thor. The Thor is 25 kills. So over here I come to engage him because he's fighting a defensive position. I make a little bit of a mistake, I think, but I think overall it's okay. I have my Ravens on a separate hotkey. Make sure I Hunter Seeker the infestors. They're really slow, and a bunch of the swarm hosts. You can see before they go off that I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different swarm hosts put down, and then on the retreat I put point defense drones. So you can see I've already put 4 down so I don't get hit. And he loses a lot of swarm hosts. And I think, you know what? I traded units for energy. I am losing some units, so I'm just going to retreat. Now my thought process is, what do I need to hold this? You know, he only has a few swarm hosts left. It's not that big of a deal as long as I have a good amount of ravens. It's good. His army is highly immobile and doesn't have a lot of ground units. So I really only need the Thor, Hellbat, Raven. So I'm going to send my siege tanks away. I don't need these siege tanks, and I do need to cripple them, so the siege tanks are there, going to kill another base. I know he can't kill these, so without retreating his whole army, and it'll be worth the investment for me if he does, because it just means I can become even more gas intensive in the key army. So you can see that I'm now taking out another base. more gas taken away from him. So definitely worth it. And you can see I have like 18 ravens right now. And I'm maxed out. I do need to lose some of the siege tanks too. So when you fire hunter-seeker missiles, you want to be preferably close to the target. So that's why I move in a little bit close and then away. And I move close to the corruptors, and then I drop point defense drones after I place the hunter-seeker missiles. And you'll just... your goal is to try to drop as many seekers before he can engage you, so your army's even stronger because you'll have a lot less. And from here he can't do anything. The game is over, and I'm now in his main base, taking on his last hatchery. So yeah, it's a whole different playstyle. It's a lot more reliant on widow mines. It's a lot less reliant on add-ons, and then you can throw whatever you like. I think you should have that replay. If you don't, I will send it to you on Skype right after. And it's a build order you can copy, and I cannot think of any way you should lose to him attacking your front.
Right. I think for most people, I would say that this is a more creative approach. The guy you played is actually pretty good.
Oh, he is really good. I was just upset that he says, "Good luck, have fun," and then he BMs. I don't normally BM, only when they start it, and then I'm kind of childish in that way. Like, I don't rage at a loss, but when they start it. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. And so it counts the main things. Most zerg players will try to attack you through the front, or they will try to go for mutalisks. And as long as you have this strategy and they try to attack you, you will decimate their army. You should try to repair the bunkers, of course, if you see it. That's why the sensor tower was there, so I could see it in advance if there was a bus coming. So once
basically it's stay alive, and then once you're sure you're safe, start dropping and harassing until you can get a really gas-heavy army and then push down the road.
Yeah, it goes in like a sequence. I'm going to defend. Now I'm going to expo. Now I'm going to make sure I have enough. Now I'm going to expo. You know, like, I'm going to get my wall up at the... or I'm going to make the facilities I need to defend. Then I'm going to drop my command center. Then I'm going to make sure I have my front. Then I'm going to move my command center. Then I'm going to drop more factories. Then I'm going to build another command center. Okay, I have another command center. Now I'm going to build even more factories. And it's like a trade-off, a turn. And the timings to make it so that traditional zerg strategies will absolutely get crushed by this opener. And then if you scout swarm hosts, you can just all of a sudden, you know, you'll have like 6 factories, and you'll go, I'm just going to add tech lab on all of them, make 2 rounds of siege tanks, and then go straight into hellions and move around them.
With the blue blade, definitely really useful.
Oh yeah.
You can just move them really quickly and then convert them into the...
Absolutely.
You should convert them back and chase down things.
Yep. And then if he's following you, you just go all the way inside of his main base into the very back corner. And while you're there, if you have more hellions, send them to another base, and they'll have to move all the way around again. Or grab another base. Eventually your goal is to limit his income and benefit yours while you build this army that eventually, if he attacks into it, he just dies.
So you're only harassing with literally.
My goal is to lose as little gas as I can, and as little units as I can for the most damage. If anything though, if I'm on 3 bases, it is worthy losing a small chunk of minerals for harassment, while I gain a large amount of gas units through a long gather time. You know, like it takes a lot to get the gas. It takes a lot to build all that many units, all that many ravens. You can't just max out on ravens, but you want like 20 of them, and that's a pretty good number. That is definitely a lot of ravens.
How much do ravens cost?
Ravens cost 100 minerals, 200 gas. And if you get the upgrade for their energy, you can hunter-seeker missile the moment they come out. So you can end up doing like 3 hunter-seeker missiles per raven with max energy.
Oh, I didn't know they had an upgrade actually.
Yeah, the upgrade is on the tech lab. It's the 3rd one. It's usually a T. It looks
like Mobius.
Yeah, it's a red icon. Very, very good. You always want to get that. You don't have to get the ravens after you get the upgrade. You can start the ravens and the upgrade at the same time. It turns out to be the exact same amount of energy as if you've waited for the upgrade first and then get the ravens. So that doesn't really matter.
Oh, alright.
Okay, you still have about 35 minutes. Is there anything else you really want to cover? Any more questions?
I definitely don't have any more questions. I'm trying to think of anything else I can think of.
You know the 4GG Terran against Terran build order? Okay, well we can definitely take a look at that if you would like.
Yeah.
And that's another game we can show you. Let me just pull that one into this. I just have to transfer it from my other account. Replays, multiplayer. Just 1 second. Okay, I've transferred all my replays over. Just looking for a Terran against Terran. I don't... Oh, I want to pick a decent one. I guess it's been a while since I played TvT.
There's not many left on that.
Yeah. That's for sure. I want to pick one where I know I do it. Here we go. I know I do it here for sure. So this is against Xenocider. He's a very, very skilled Terran player. He's in the WCS America. I think he's in Premier or Challenger. I don't know.
He's in Challenge. Or no, he's in Premier. No, wait. He played QXC. Whoever won or lost, that went up and down.
I don't remember, but he's very good, and this build works against him, so that says something.
It is 15.
So let's take a look at this replay. Now the general idea of 4GG's Terran against Terran is he wants to have this highly mobile, harassment-able army that's very powerful and can benefit his late game attacks, which is hellions, which can transform into hellbats. So how you open this up is you go for a 10 supply depot, you go for a 12 barracks, and then you go for 15 gas. And the reason for this being is that you can drop your command center and get a reactor on your barracks relatively close to the same time. You don't need that many Marines in the early start to really defend. There's a 15 gas. So there's a few Marines who make like 2 or 3 Marines. So here's the reactor, then here's the command center, and then a factory. Here it is. Now we produce 2 Marines at a time, and we go all the way up to 6 Marines, I think? 6 or 8 Marines. Should be 6. Yeah, well, it turns out to be 6. So then we lift them over, get a starport, command center, and we begin Hellion. We can also keep producing Marines. Not 100% necessary. In this one, I actually scout with the barracks, not something he does. Another thing you can do is you can see that I built a supply depot here, and I got this sensor tower with that SUV. I can see if he moves through this side of the map. The players that spawn in the top left move along this side, and the players that spawn in the bottom right move along this side. So having a supply depot there will scout any attack coming through, you know, and if he doesn't have any air units or he doesn't fly over it, he'll never know the supply depot is there until the mid to late game. So that's something you can do. You don't have to send your barracks, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is something I was doing this game.
I always have a hard time with justifying it, because then I'll need to build something I can't build.
Yeah. So from here, we have a lot of Marines, and we go for hellions and lots of hellions. We kind of move out to the front of our map, or front of our base, drop our command center down, and we go for the medevac first, and then the Viking.
I think I've ran into this a few times. Like, this seems to be something I've seen. Like, I've played against, not done, but played against.
Yeah, this has become a very, very popular build because it's so good. It's really good. Let's keep looking here. So he does some light harass, but the goal of the build here is to get 2 extra factories, then another 2 factories, so we go up to like 5 factories with almost to no add-ons. We want 1 reactor, 1 tech lab. You can see I'm also harassing him in his base with a drop. So I pulled the hellions back to defend, and I dropped with the medevac. Normally the goal is to drop in his base with the medevac, just to pull him out, and then send the hellions in through the ramp and attack workers at his expo. So, yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing, is just keeping him busy right now. It is a lot of hellions. And I'm making a tech lab on my starport for Raven as well. So let's speed a little bit through this. Now we drop a scan and we're able to get both, so that was a little mistake on his part.
Well, if you would have attacked your gas, would it have killed it or not?
I'm not 100% sure. Probably could have done it at an angle, yes. I don't need this much gas, by the way, either. And I'm going for a double tech lab here. So I actually make a mistake in the build order. I should have gone for 2 more factories. But double tech lab lets me go into what's the word I'm looking for? Siege tanks faster, which I don't actually end up doing. Or I believe you get tech lab, 2 hellions, 2 tech labs, 2 hellions, and then into siege tanks. I may be right. Sorry, it's been a little bit since I've done this build. I think this was a few days old. And then, you know, once you have blue flame or you really scout him out, I see that he doesn't have much. And then with micro, I can attack into him. If he doesn't really have siege tanks, you will have the superior army. And your goal is to fight the Hellbats at range. I make a few mistakes, but overall, it works out to be pretty good. Alrighty, so you can see that I, killed his stuff. He actually does pretty good at sending his workers in. I lose all the hellions for not that much damage.
Oh, how
Yeah.
the hell did he do that?
Yeah, he's pretty good at it. That surprised me as well.
You got so many aliens.
Yeah. Now with blue flame, you can see before we move in, I know where his hellions are, and I know that if I'm here, I can attack them in a line. As long as I'm split up, he can't do the same. So watch his hellion count just drop.
Yeah.
So that gives us an edge. So you always want to get him in a line without us being in one. And now we're inside his main base doing damage. So there's so many hellions, so many reinforcements that I can do. I'm not getting anything more than hellions right now. I'm getting 2 more factories, but I'm not getting more than hellions because I don't really need to right now, you know?
Yeah.
I'm holding enough pressure on them. And again, more hellions here coming up the side. Doing a decent amount of damage there, but I lost too much there, so I decided, okay, it's getting a little crazy. I was able to get a Viking, a Raven, and I'm going double armory because I'm feeling very confident.
When you see double tanks, does it not make you want to get tank?
Yeah, now that's why I'm switching it up. I'm just supply blocked. And I also get cloak, so my banshees can do more damage. And I just kind of keep him in his base, let him know I'm there, pressuring him. And then from here I can get the transformation servos, I can get the 1-1 upgrades, I can produce a lot of siege tanks, I can produce a lot of Hellbats. And then the moment the servos are complete, I can transform all my hellions that I still have left over and just have a huge amount of hellions. And I'm on 3 bases, he isn't, so that's an advantage for me. So I have extra gas. Another starport. One thing I've learned is that with a style, it's okay to get a second starport. Just so you can produce like ravens and vikings at the same time. And you just keep defending his drops. You can see I have some missile turrets to defend against them. We'll skip forward a little bit here. Don't want to take all your time.
He'll keep dropping because he's trying to get back in.
Yep. It's not bad though. He's doing great with the drops. I should have kept dropping as well.
Yeah.
He's definitely vulnerable to some drops himself. But now if we look at like the Hellbat count, if you hit you, it's 27 Hellbats to 3, and then 7 siege tanks to 11. And I go back into hellion mode, so I can move more around the map. I'm not that concerned. Yeah, this allows me to get the watchtowers. Same thing as any other matchup. And I see him moving out. That one supply depot really tells me where he is. So very useful supply depot. Stayed alive for the first 22 minutes of the game. And then here, I see where he is. I get into the Hellbat transformation. Now your goal is to get the Hellbats in front. So I move my whole army slightly more in this direction. So my Hellbats, I get a nice good concave, the whole circle, you know. And my Hellbats get in the front to take the damage. And you can see here, he's kind of in a line. And I come in from a huge arc. Siege. Throw down Hunter-Seeker missiles on his tanks that were clumped up. Hellbats still going in. And then Vikings in the back. Like the army size before this fight, like if you take a look at it now, it's 138 to 112. And then if we go before this fight, it's pretty close. There's about an 8 supply lead right now. Yeah, there's about an 8 supply lead.
Yep.
And the big difference is that I came in from an arc. I have tanks sieged up. The Banshee does a lot of damage. The Raven gets the Hunter-Seeker missiles and the Vikings in the back. But really, the biggest thing out of all of this is he had no buffer. He had all these mass powerful units like Thors, the siege tanks. He had 2 more siege tanks than me, but he had also 4 more Thors, which are very supply heavy. I think they're 6 supply. Yeah, they're 6 supply compared to a Hellbat who's 2 supply, so I have so many more Hellbats taking damage, and that's the biggest thing. I had so much things absorbing damage than he did. So yeah, that is the Terran against Terran style, and I'll send you that replay as well.
Usually, for me, a lot of what it takes is I just do a build enough and I eventually get it down. And once it feels comfortable, I'll kind of be able to go from there, I guess.
Mm. Is there any more questions from Terran against Terran there? Or?
No. I think that probably once I start incorporating more of the blue flame and TvZ, I'll be better off as well.
Yeah, I think that will definitely help you as well.
The big thing is going to be figuring out how to do the map present.
Like just moving around the map and attacking and so forth. Are you talking about like harassment?
Knowing where people are, I think. The harassment I'll be okay with.
But knowing where they're going, or sorry.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing you can do that is like if you're dropping, you look for key things like does he have a Spire? Does he have a Roach Warren? What's the possibility? Does he have a Stargate? Does he have a robotics? And you go, okay, you know what? Let's say he started off Oracle. You can go, it's been about 15 minutes in the game. I'm just gonna scan his Stargate and make sure it's not building anything. And if it is, and I don't see any units, I have to find out exactly what comes out of there and how much of it he has. So that's a good way you can count. Scanning the Terran production facility, making sure he's not like taking the air. Watchtowers, sensor towers, all very useful. Scanning his army on a regular basis is useful. You'll find that the more you harass him with hellions, the more knowledge you'll have of exactly what he's going. And the more you do this, like, I mean, not just during a game. Like, during a game, the more you do this, the more knowledge you'll have of what he's going. But the more games you do this in, the more you know what, this seems to be a little. Like, you can more accurately judge armies based on what they have due to your harass. You can go, the last tip protoss I faced at this time had a lot more, and I didn't harass you as much. What are you hiding? And that's where you can like frantically scan his base.
My biggest thing so far has been the two races that I've played they're completely different.
Mhm. Yeah, Zerg and Terran mech are a very different race, which is why my Terran against Zerg strategy works so well for a lot of people. It's more of the swarm style. So, yeah. Is there anything else, like any other further questions you have? Because we still have 20 minutes, but I'm not quite sure what to fill it with at this stage.
Yeah, honestly, off the top of my head, I really can't think of anything.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to do? Maybe another replay, or how would you like to continue in the next 20 minutes?
I think there was one replay, the TvZ I played. I wouldn't mind you looking at if I can find it. I do find that I'll push with mech, and just as I'm pushing, I'll have a huge, or feel like I have a huge advantage, which is why I push. And all of a sudden, Muto will just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's more of getting a sense of a good example of that is I was facing Idra on ladder 3 days ago, and I scanned his base, and I was like, okay, I don't see a lot of army, so there's one of two options. And I just saw drones coming out of the hatch, and then I immediately saw eggs being rebuilt. I'm like, okay, one of two things has happened. One, he's making another round of drones, and I can kill him right now. Or two, he's making a round of units, and he'll be able to stop my attack. And it turned out to be the second choice. It was close, but it turned out to be the second choice. So really, a lot of knowing what's coming comes with game sense and being prepared for it, and a unit composition that can counter it. Like you can go, you know what, you can have Mutalisks by the 11-minute mark. I'm just going to drop 2 missile turrets just in case. I'm going to have 2 Thors just in case, or I'm going to have a lot of siege tanks to stop roaches. But you know what? I think, because he's only going roaches, and you can go, you know what? I think he might go Mutalisk, so I'm just going to get a lot of Widow Mines, and when I attack, really split up my Widow Mines really good, and maybe bring in a CV or 2 to make missile turrets. So a lot of it comes to thinking about what's coming, you know, what could come, and slightly preparing for it already. And the Terran against Zerg build I showed you does prepare for a lot of that heavily in advance. So if you practice it, you shouldn't have nearly as many issues.
Try tossing me lead real quick, I think this.
Yeah. Here you go.
Ooh,
Against Big Mac. Makes me hungry thinking about his name.
I don't know if this is it though. It seems unread, so we'll see.
I should probably play on the ranked more myself.
I don't see the point. My one buddy does it a lot.
Makes you feel good that you're not losing. I guess it's the same reason why I play on a barcode. I want to test strategies without losing points. So, I mean, that's... Since I've played on this barcode, I've been able to really make my mech a lot stronger. Just because I'll do whatever I feel like and see where it goes and build from there. So you're doing your standard opener.
Once I started it, I just kept doing it until I got it down. I think it's pretty early on in me learning it.
Yeah.
Took me a while, like, as you can tell, like, this is, I think when I first started doing it, because this gas is really early.
Yeah, you do seem to have a lot of gas. You could probably go into like 2-port Banshee as a cheese from here. Hellions on the map. You're scouted, okay. I'd build the command center on the high ground. Just, my rule as of late has always been build the command center on the high ground. Just to be safe.
See, I felt like when I have the Hellions out, if they're alive, I usually feel safe enough because I didn't see Roach.
Oh, I would feel safe too. It's just that it takes 100 seconds to build, and
Yeah, it's a long
it,
time.
yeah. So if you get unlucky and they reach your base just before it finishes and they kill the SUV, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
and then you're way behind. You didn't see any overlords on the way in, so you probably could have like gotten the widow mines and dropped them on the side and saved the medevac and then walked them in.
Yeah.
I don't really like the widow mine drop as much if you don't have what's the word I'm looking for?
The burrow.
Yeah, the burrow upgrade. Because the spine crawler will kill it. With the burrow upgrade, it shouldn't really be able to.
I've been noticing a lot more static defense from zergs too, which is something that was never done in Wings of Liberty, really.
Yeah, it's because of the Hellbat drafts.
Yeah.
Overall, you're going great. You have a decent sized factory count. Getting medevacs, you're getting Hellbats doing some pressure. This is good. Engineering bay would definitely be good. You have a lot of minerals, and I would drop it around like the 9-minute mark, just to be safe.
I'm really terrible with that.
Doing a lot of harassment. And this is good, you're keeping him busy. You could have dropped like a 3rd command center here, though.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. And it's good that you're going for the attack upgrades first, but do you know why?
I don't.
With the attack upgrades, once you get to +3 attack, Hellbats not only one-shot Zerglings, but it's much easier to kill Ultralisks. So that's the 2 biggest reasons why.
I'm honestly a big fan of double upgrades always, for some reason.
I've always been a big fan of it too. I really like to do when I don't feel pressured. But lately, I don't know. I've been really mixed about it. You're going up to a great tank count. I mean, great factory count 5. That's a really good number. I feel like you're giving him a lot of time to tech to Spire.
Yeah, I should have kept. I don't know why, but I just stopped dropping. I do it a lot. Like I'll just stop harassing. I'll harass for like the first 10 minutes of the game and then decide, oh, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah. Could definitely get the transformation service upgrade and move a lot of hellions around the map. Just a shit ton.
That's what I need to do. I definitely do need to get that upgrade. Because at the very least, I'm just wasting minerals, which really aren't going to matter once the 3rd's down.
+3 attack. Not much anti-defense upgrade. You could walk over him the last 2 minutes and still continuously walk
I
over
think I
him.
lose.
I feel like you're so far ahead. It's probably because of the Spire. You don't really know what army he has, so you don't know what you can do. And that's a big thing. And that comes with the map awareness and so on. Like, again, like last time, you're attacking before the Spire is complete, and he was able to get a lot of Swarmhosts. You're able to do good damage to him.
I think I kill almost all of them.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I mean,
And then it's the mutas that are the problem. So just a few Thors and a few Widow Mines and you could end it. You could have ended this game any 2 minutes prior. Once you see the mutas, you probably could have just attacked into his base.
I might do.
How you do? Maybe send the reinforcements to his 3rd base.
I think I lose this.
I don't... I would be baffled if you did.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, your reinforcements really should have gone to the 3rd base. That was the big thing. Or that's a big thing. Because you would have been able to wipe out those workers too.
I still don't. I'm already making Thor. Really, maybe I don't lose. I don't know how the hell I could lose.
When you see the Mulus, you should also have built an engineering bay.
Yeah, that was dumb. Yeah, I think I got caught up on the attack.
Yeah. It's got a lot of Mulus. Just a few Widow Mines split up, and one bad move into him would weaken them all so much.
I did send those hellions to buy myself time, which I think I get. Yeah, I did, just barely.
Yeah.
One catches that. Yeah, I think I lose this, actually.
You could probably attack into space right now and just win. It's the Swarm Host Remax that's probably going to kill you.
Yeah, it's what kills me. Fairly so.
So, the biggest mistakes here are not knowing what's coming, not getting Widow Mines, and not sending your army to his third, the reinforcement army.
Yeah.
Though, if you fixed any one of those three things, you could have won this game. And I always hate losses like those, because those are the worst, where you're like,
I felt really far ahead.
You definitely are in a good spot right now. Not getting the watchtowers is huge too, because that allows them to get into position.
Yeah.
And then he expands on different sides of the map.
Here comes this one. So I think I can never push. I think I lose a really good fight up here.
Yeah.
I even have the high ground. I think I still lose the fight.
Yeah. And I don't think you're aware of his foremost yet. Not until now.
Then I just find out.
So
'Cause
yeah.
I have no tanks.
So that surprised you a lot. You could have actually attacked into the swarm host and killed him.
Just they're so bad against fucking. Thors are just not very good.
Here you take 2 waves of locusts.
Yeah, when they should have just pushed in.
Yeah.
You take a third right here too.
Yeah, so that's the big thing, is you lost a lot of units to the different waves.
It's just so many.
That is a lot, and losing your third was kind of big.
Yeah.
I would make any expo past your third a planetary, always.
Yeah, I floated this, and he killed the planetary, and I floated that out. I think.
Yeah.
It's like an old base.
Can't see too many other problems, except you with Swarm Hosts, you really want to attack the Ravens.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of Swarm Hosts, and this is probably what overruns you.
Yeah, I eventually can't push into anything.
Yeah, with a lot of Hellbats are good, but you also don't move on attack command, which is dangerous. And there's just so many locusts here.
No, it's just,
Yeah, just same thing as we covered in the first game. A little bit more harassment, a little better scouting would have won you this game, hands down. And part of it, though, is I think you've been reacting wrongly to specific unit compositions like Swarmos, like Mutalisks, and Roaches.
I don't ever use mines against users. It's something I'm gonna have to do. I always just think Thors.
Yeah, mines are really, really good. They're not like overpowered, but there's almost always a use for them in some way or another. Like the Hellbat, they're still useful, but it's just the mines would have been better.
Also not knowing these came, like the Remax on these that I didn't know was coming.
Yeah, the Prelards. And by now you're a lot of supply behind. You have a lot of idle SCVs. You don't have your natural fourth base. You have a lot of siege tanks. You probably could have gone for like a base race here. But it looks like you attack into move into a swarm host. Yeah. So the move command definitely not your friend. I'm glad to be able to find that out too. It's I use the move command a lot. It's something I'd almost never use. Unless you're like really watching army.
I tried. And see, that's why I stopped using the A move. Sometimes it leads you into like terrible.
Yeah.
Alright, man, well. Fun. I'm gonna go to bed now.
Yeah, I'm about ready for sleep too, so.
I'll give you an email once I figure out my schedule for next week.
Sounds good. How do you feel like, are you confident in the matchups now? Did you learn a lot, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna probably just have to practice the other builds. Like,
Right.
I knew that the build I was using was meant for for TvP. I obviously knew that, but
Yeah.
since it was the only mech build I really knew how to use, it was more applicable and better for me to use it than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I think the other things are just going to be like introducing the other units that I need to introduce.
Okay, well, sounds good. I definitely hope you go on a winning streak here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really have been since I started using it. I think a lot of people there's some that deal really well with it, but for the most part, a lot don't deal well with it.
It's a lot of what it is in the lower leagues. You know, it's hard to out micro colossi, and it's hard to out micro storm, and it's the same thing as it's hard to out micro mech. In the higher leagues, it gets a lot easier, but in the lower leagues, it's a lot more overpowered as a mech player, because if they attack into you and you're in a good spot, they just die.
Yeah, it's trying to break a line.
Yep.
I think for me, since I started using it, though, it's definitely been just in my match history. It's almost all ones.
Well, it's a pleasure meeting you, Anthony, and I look forward from hearing you again.
You too, man. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.